Okay, then we'll call the work session to order and start with number 1.
Hi. Discussion on water shut-off valve from you. So this is something that we keep getting asked about. People's water shut-offs come up in their yards, and what's the city's responsibility? So kind of wanted to really have a conversation with you about what should we be doing. So, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, like Glenn said, especially on the golf course, and I've been telling people, wondering, you guys take care of this, let me take care of this. One guy, he was even a plumber, I'm like, well, from what I've been told, we haven't been taking care of them. People don't get plumbers to come or whatever. Yeah, it was a plumber, he's like, well, I don't know what we're doing. One time I did, but, it didn't seem, I don't know. And I knew some other cities do it, so I was just kind of curious. It's not a hard task to do, it's just a matter of...
So some cities do take and lower those water shut-offs for the residents. But we've always taken the policy stance that it's really the homeowner's responsibility because it's part of their system, part of their service to the house.
Because it's in the middle of the yard.
Yes. But
It's in the right.
it's in the right of
But
way.
it's part of their system, yet, it's our system. I mean, it's the norm, in our system there. So it's not a terrible task.
Wow.
What is the appropriate way of doing it? I just hammered my back down.
I thought that's what you heard you can do, is just hit them down, they slip.
Some of them
Some of them
can.
can. Some of them are, they, for frost, there's a little thick in here, slip, sleeve, whatever. Then crank on and get them to go down, but it's always the risk, if you do get way too far. That's why it's like, you don't want to tell them that, because then if you tell them that, then it's like,
Right.
then they'll come back and go,
Right.
the city guys told me to do it.
Was that anything when we get plans from the bill, I mean, is there any requirements how much those have to stick up? Does the city say, hey, these got to stick up 14 inches as you're putting them in, and then,
When there's supposed to be a grade level when the house is built.
Okay.
Over time, some settle, I mean, I don't know if my yard numbers was good.
Okay.
I mean, it did look like the yard was,
So I don't, guess my thoughts would be that wouldn't be the city's responsibility if they're supposed to put them in, and that's how they do it, and everything's done and finished. What the city...
What is the cost?
Yeah, we actually have part of the cost, so I don't know if you guys.
In the spring, it seems like you get a
Spring,
lot of
we get a
calls.
lot more,
Yeah.
and then when people see me out and about, seems like if they're in their driveway, they're in their yard.
I'd like to push it up to the evaporating settle or unfreeze and it'll go back down, then or no?
No, it was when dirt gets in behind it.
Around it and back down.
If it's the homeowner's responsibility, then the city doesn't have the right to come shut it off. In the event you got your water shut off, because you didn't pay the bill.
No, the city always has the right to do that.
Well, if you're telling me it's my shut off,
I guess one question I would have is the resident responsible for the service all the way to the main,
No.
or just to the curb stop?
Well, see, that's the thing, I think they've been responsible for the first one. So then that box is really half theirs and half ours, kind of, because we needed to shut it off, but yet that's sort of where we we say our responsibility ends and theirs begins. It's really a very gray area, and so does it become a community service that we do, so that if we need to access the water and shut it off, to be sure that it's done right? Or do we say, no, this was installed and it's your responsibility? And it really becomes a policy question then of what the city council wants us to see as a service to the residents. And ease up for us to be able to do our public works jobs and not just water.
Is there any liability risk to us going out and doing it? Like if something happened and then they come back to the city and say, oh, you did this, you left it up too high, my lawnmower's ruined. I mean, we can think of a million things that someone's gonna come say that we should pay for it up.
I don't know, it's...
Getting worse than doing anything. Well, one thing, I just checked with Lois and see if we could do it. One thing I thought of is, what if we basically said to them, city will do it for you, but we're gonna give a one-time $20 or $25 service assessment to do it, or you can do it on your own. That way it covers Kyle's time, so and the parts. It's a nominal fee. Most people will probably go that way versus hiring a plumber to come out and do it, but it's kind of a good compromise and throws the ball back in their court and...
Yep.
And if you tell them to fix it themselves, you don't know how to fix it. They bury it 2 feet down, it's like, well, kind of perfect.
I just get concerned when, like, I shut it off and then it doesn't come up a little bit and it gets hit, or it's leaking or something else happening, you know, and then
Well, it's-
where, does it ever end then?
It's mainly, what it is, I mean, it is just a pipe that comes up, and then there's a key, or a little turn, it's not a riser. The valve, basically, you know, however deep our water, 10 feet deep, and then there's a riser off it, and that's where I put the little feet down. That's probably what we do. So a lot of them, usually it's 3 feet, so I can cut a good 3 feet off before I even, I'm not hitting the water main or anything like that, it's just a pipe. So,
So he'll do it for $25 or...
We'll put it on the next council agenda, come back with a fee, and then we will also maybe try to see if we can get a drawing of what it looks like, just so they can see,
sure.
and try to get an estimate on how many we've done.
And get an
Sure,
estimate on how
cost.
much it'll really cost.
Yeah.
The time, the parts.
Yeah, what you think we should maybe, recommendation on what an appropriate fee would be.
Maybe the parts just become separate, something that's filled out separately too, which it could be. Could be a fee to do it plus the parts.
Yeah, 'cause those prices always change.
You may wanna consider whether you allow a slip-on cap, you know, because if you cut them off and put a slip-on cap on there, those caps do pull off in the winter. And so, the other option is to cut the pipe off and re-thread it, screw that cap back on.
Right, yeah.
A lot of cities do it that way just because of the headaches down the road. The other thing is to make sure that it's pulled all the way up and it's only 6 inches out of the ground when the lawn is landscaped by the builder. That way you can push it down, you have room. Problem if you allow a homeowner to do it. They go out there and start pounding on that and beating on it. It don't go down anymore, it starts leaking. You know, typically, from my experience, it's the city's water shut off. Where the city shuts it off is theirs, and where the line hooks on becomes the homeowner's, because they want access to shut that water off.
I mean, off the gas, charging the fee on those kind of things. I suppose the homeowner could hammer it down a little bit below the ground to it, they have a hard time finding it.
No, the metal detector.
So we have drawings that show where
And
everything
the
is.
new part is 3D,
Right.
the old part is
So, you know, we could just bill right on the water bill also. Add a line on it. All right. We'll bring that back to council then. All right.
For your action, yep, next meeting. General fund budget, Mr. Mayor, I took and we, if you recall at the last meeting a week ago, we went through the general fund and added line items and deducted line items. So what I did is I gave you this one-page snapshot of the budget so that you could see that, and then the budget is behind it for backup, so you can look at line items if that's what you wanted to look at. So as you go down, you can see a couple of the highway, streets, and roads has gone up by $84,820, and that's because of the purchase of the truck and the lawnmower. And the other large one was the baseball park. So we're gonna do the, help me tell you, there was $35,000 for the sand volleyball court, I think, in there, which I think we need to
The
relook
park
at
and
that
rec, the
number.
baseball
Yep.
park is 0.
No, the park and rec one. We were gonna do a sand volleyball that was 35, and I think that number, we went back and looked at history, and it's been on the CIP for a long time at that amount. I don't know where that dollar figure came from, but I'm thinking that probably a more realistic number would be 10 to 15,000. And I did go out to the listserv to request, so I think that one probably could be lowered by 20,000 at least.
Where is that one?
Park and rec. And the other thing that, the other additions that they wanted to do at the park, that money could be taken out of the park fund too, instead of putting it on the levy, if that's what you chose to do. So those are a couple areas. You have $177,824 increase over last year in the proposed 2015 budget to the 2014.
Certainly a big increase.
I think that I did receive now today from Zach a proposal to come to council meetings. It's $45 a month to come and record both council meetings and then upload the files to the computer. So he wanted to be like $23 something a meeting. So it's another $540 that probably should be added to this computer line item. Professional services. Which isn't reflected in here since I just received it today. That was, we didn't have that conversation because we were, again, waiting for the street bid to come in. And now you're gonna spend all the money from that street fund and not this $40,000, because this is what's set aside for seal coating. Unless you wanna do the seal coating out of that $40,000, which is $37,000 is what, Martini thought we would do for the year. It was proposed for 2014. So there wouldn't be only $3,000 left of that bill that we budgeted for 2014. But again, you have that 435 fund that was set aside for equipment and projects. That this 85,000 certainly can come out of for that stuff for one more, and it could just be done this year. We could start the process and get it taken care of. Remember that we took out of the general fund and set aside for that reason.
Looking at something like that, this increase too. That's certainly a pretty big increase.
So when we do that, when we take those funds out of this year's budget, right, and set them aside, is that what you just said?
No, you set money aside. Remember we transferred money from the general fund and established that 435 projects and equipment fund back in March?
So that's what you're talking about, the money's
That
already
money's
there.
already there, right.
So then why do we budget for it?
Well, we wouldn't then, but you need to make that decision. That's your decision to make, whether you want to budget for it or take it out of that capital fund. You have to tell me what you want to do.
Out of our last work session, if I remember right, the conversation was add in
Yeah, everything.
worst case for every,
Right.
add in everything we talked about, and I would, see where we're sitting, and start cutting through down, do we have to use some of that? You know, again,
Did you, I think you mentioned it before, do you have any preliminary estimates on our market value in town for,
Not yet, I don't. I recently got permission to move on it.
There's what, 9 new houses?
I had that one that I did for that standard 6-4.
Okay.
It showed that the market value went up by 50%,
okay.
so,
And we had 9 new houses, is that right?
correct.
But they're not fully taxed till the following year, right?
Yeah, right.
Are there any preliminary estimates on LGA and things like that yet?
190,000, we got a little bit of an increase of about 7,000, it's all in LGA.
7,000?
All of it. Just the month.
It's only 170,000 increase then if we...
It's like, it's $1 million something, yes. But I don't think all the transfers have been made. Where's the capital projects fund, there's another, I can go get the resolution, but the $835 thousand has not been transferred from the general fund this year yet. That accounting, has not been done. The resolution.
I know, I saw it.
It's on the back of my report.
Yeah.
My only thought, as we were looking at the budget, you know, and the need of the biggest concern with our trucks, is, you know, going into there. You know, I was thinking that we could take it out of that 435.
So that's where the conversation did come. I know we talked about something about that, but.
You know, whether we took the lawnmower out of there too, and did that right away, or whether we did that next spring, going in the spring. To reduce this 84 by, I think, 75.
Yeah, that's what, that doesn't include the trading of the truck too. So there could be equipment.
what are people, what are thoughts here on this proposed budget tonight?
Safely could, I don't think a $10 bill course is going to be $35,000. I think more 10 to 15. And like I said, I had tried to get estimates. I went out to the listserv and asked the question if anybody had built one yet, and I didn't get a response on it, to see what their costs were.
I thought that seemed high.
Well, we were thinking that maybe years ago it was going to be more than one, like a couple of them or something like that. So then when I talked and maybe we thought maybe we originally had planned 2. I don't know, I wasn't on the park board. I think it went as far back as...
You probably could get up to that amount.
I just don't know, but we kind of took the 35,000 and cut it in half. And I think with the conception that they were thinking 2 courts.
And then, I can't remember what the other stuff was on the CIP right off the top of my head. Other than
Slide over to a gazebo-ish area, that was, MCF is 50,000, so it's just washed out to leave that number there.
But there's that park improvement fund, that there's 180,000 in that they can take the 50 out instead of putting it on the tax sheet.
Should still be able to do that.
the other thing I remember from last week is we had like a $6,200 fire department increase that there was plenty of money left over in the previous years. It puts us behind the saving for the next truck, but it's something we could look at. Where was that? There was $4,000 for tires and $2,200.
That was the fire equipment line, right? 2,200,
Four out of it.
and you left 22.
Talked to Rod about that today, and, we probably can delay the payment on the truck until 2016, if we need to, so we wouldn't have to budget for it. He said he was waiting to hear from, he talked to, the bank today about the financing on it. We know the lease company will do with the bank, may be able to give us the same rate or a little bit better for interest, so he was waiting to hear from them. So we could probably set the date if we wanted to be January 15th, 2016 for the first payment. That's what we told.
You send them back to the respective funds. I think that, I think they should own that, and probably want to own that, to go back and say, well, here's where we're at, everywhere we're, you know, I don't think.
Cut your own budget.
Yeah, I certainly think that's appropriate. I would never have that kind of reform. I think that's a good idea. We can sharpen them more right there.
85,000. It's 75 for the truck and 10 for the mower. And then if you take 20 from parks and 75 from highways and streets, then we've got $95,000. And then if you look at the, to go just a little bit further on the, about the debt payment, which will help lower the bottom line also on our, levy, is that I think the city council will need to consider lowering of the sewer debt based on last year's hookup fees. So each year at budget time, an adjustment could be made to the debt levy based on the revenue collected from last year's hookup fees. For example, last year's hookup fee revenue was 9 times 45, or 40,500, minus the current amount that the city levies is of 390, which would make that levy 349.5. So in future years, if building permits decrease with the city in balancing the levy amount, the city could use some of the previous year's revenues to balance future levies. So essentially, the sewer debt levy could be reduced to $349,500 from the $390. So that would be another $40,000 off that bottom number, because that's what you're essentially going to be working for. We've had 9 so far this year. We had 12. We've had 9 so far this year, I think. So that would be this year, using the 2014 numbers for the 2015 budgeting year. Or you could, so I shouldn't have said last year, I should have said the current year. Or you could use the 13 year if you wanted to. You could use the 12 and reduce it by the, it'd be a little over $50,000. The sewer levy then. And then next year you take what we got in 14 to lower that levy in 15. Use the current year or the past year, which would help that bottom number be decreased, or the levy, the debt.
That should be a small. Yeah. Maybe they run out, we have development. It seems like the, yeah. That would run out of that in their home. Yeah.
Then they'll come from on too.
Yeah, right.
I think to come up with the rationale of how we do it so that we remember it for next year, you know what I'm saying? Are we gonna use 2013 numbers, or are we gonna use the 2014 current? To lower the sewer debt, how do you wanna do it? And then if we use the 2013, which would be last year's numbers that we know for sure we have, because 2014, we only have 9 so far, but then next year when we budget in 2015, then we'll reuse the 2014 numbers that we had at the end of the year. Because we could virtually get 3 more houses yet this year and have
We
12.
could use,
You
we
see
could
what I'm
use this
saying?
year's number, but have the cutoff, whatever, August first.
You could do that.
So we have 9 this year. Next year's, we use August first up to July 31st.
So then
you
you
know.
got all, you part of,
Sometimes we can't do, it's hard for us to guess what those extra 4 months are gonna be.
right, and that's why I'm saying, so then you could use the 2013 numbers instead, Mike. You could use the 12 building permits, because you know you have them for sure. And then next year, when you do the 2016 budget, you go back and look at the 2014 numbers that you know you have for sure.
But if we use 2014 numbers, we won't have that.
Correct.
Not
Right.
No,
You don't have
not
them
for the
all.
whole year, you go through August first.
And then you
Go to
can
August first, and then the next year when we do this, we're going from August
August 1st
first to
to
July
July
31st.
31st. Correct. You use that year.
More difficult for them.
Well, no, that's fine.
I don't think that's difficult at all. All on- that's difficult.
You can do
But
that.
either way, I'm fine either way.
Well-
That's just an idea. I'm
Right.
fine taking 2013 as the number we have also. To me, that you start getting 2 years, where the 2013 number for 2015. That seems more confusing to me, but maybe not. Maybe that's,
And maybe when we get to budget time and we're at the bottom number, and we look at it and we say we need another $10,000 or $15,000 and realize that we could take it off the sewer debt, then that's how we do it. We base it off the 2013 numbers or something, you know what I'm saying? When we get there, we may need to make that adjustment, and then we can make that decision at that time and say, no, we're gonna use the year previous, the total calendar year previous is building permit number. Previous to the year that we're in. We'll have to word it so we know.
One quick question on this, fuel debt.
I did, all I put on that one was the general fund. If you remember, when I get this done, now you'll have the rest of the debt, and you'll have the revenues, and you'll have the local government aid, and you'll have what the, levy is gonna be. I didn't put that all on here, so, I just put the fire station, I put the truck payment on here at 41, and the truck payment, that's what the truck payment would be. However, you're gonna have on the revenue side, you're gonna have the 20,000 that you collect from the relief, the 5 from the relief and the 15 from the township. I don't reflect that here, I just reflect the expense. So even though that sheet said 21,777 for fire truck payment, I reflect the whole payment here, and on the revenue side is the credit for the others. And the debt service on Highway 25, I didn't include see that's, yeah, I just put what they're gonna, what those are. That Highway 25 was reduced because of the refunding. So as you can see, I about,
On this sheet, you got 41,
right,
692 for the truck payment.
correct.
We're also showing new equipment at 45, is that the truck payment up here?
No,
That's additional.
correct.
Start building for the next. Otherwise, if we aren't saving, you're not gonna have anything.
what part of, all this fire stuff that we
Correct, and so you'll see fire contracts on the revenue side, and so we'll work in more detail with the revenue side this time, so that you guys understand how I put the budget together.
So when we go and we split out with the fire district, the townships, does this take all the fire equipment, account, fire station account, fire department land, fire department truck, does this take, kind of release all that, split out of certain ones that are just dropped?
The fire department, building is just ours.
Okay.
The 8308 is just the city, we don't split that out with the township. But the rest of it gets split out with them according to the formula that we have. I'm not sure if the fire department land did, I don't think that did either, because that was something we were gonna reimburse ourselves to the bottom.
We're gonna get 40% of the revenue side go back.
Correct, yeah.
Every dollar we put into that, we're getting 40% of it back. I don't have a problem taking the truck and the mower out of that money. Eventually, down the road, that'll catch up with us, we get them into that, but not having these truck payments, planning ahead for some of the things, eventually, it's not catching up with us, but I think right away, I'm sorry. We got to keep an eye on it, now we're looking at it as, well, that shit, and let's start pulling it out before we can. The cost, $75,000 truck payment we have paid for is short-sighted on our part.
Are you okay with us starting that process of going up to look at bids and stuff for the truck and the lawnmower? It needs to come back to the city council meeting, we'll need to get authorization from you.
Start getting bids.
So can we put it on the next agenda to get your authorization to be able to do that?
Yeah, I
Okay.
thought it would start getting bids.
Okay. So it'll be on the August, 11th meeting.
So is everyone in agreement that we take that truck and mow it out there, take that at 435, or?
I kind of just have the truck off. You take the truck off and the 20,000 from Park and Rec, you're taking 95,000 off. It gets us to 849,709. When I look back at all the other years, they increased, like, let's say from 2013 to 2014, we increased the budget $129,000. If you take that 95,000 off, we're only increasing this year's budget from last year $82,000.
But-
You almost 83.
But you might have used more local government aid, so the bottom line came out different, right?
Because the revenues are already in that.
Because, not in this, because this is the expenses, but you might have accounted for more revenue, so once we added all the rest of the expenses in, right, so you,
Yeah, but
even
we're
though we had a
starting-
$125,000 increase, we might have used more, $125,000 more in local government aid, so that made the tax levy the same. So the tax levy didn't increase with this. Like here, it's probably going to because we counted on all the local government aid last year.
From an expense standpoint, that doesn't, this still is the same, this is still the numbers no matter what, right?
Right, but you gotta take your revenues off of it to get what you.
2014 is the actual, what we
Right.
actually. So, what we actually spend, you're saying is probably going to be more.
Probably. Well, we were only $37 difference last year in the general fund budget, between what we spent and what we budgeted for, so. What I'm saying is, if you, when we look at the spend, we've also looked at the revenue side, and you've always tried to keep the tax rate the same, so even though this increased, you might have increased the revenues down below to make up for the extra expense. You don't have the ability in 2015 to make up that revenue to not increase your taxes.
I remember we did that.
Does that
last
make
year,
sense?
Fully counted, so we
Right.
were getting it the previous year, we counted on getting it after.
Right.
Or whatever it was we were getting.
And that's why you have all that money in that 835 fund. That's why we had 150% balance in the general fund, was because of a lot of the local government aid money, the building permit fees that we've gotten, so that's where a lot of that money came from. The revenue side.
Long story short, we can't replace it, it's just your own request.
Well, we're, so we have the actual on 14. Now, always budgeted at 24,700.
Correct.
That's based off the wage, that's kind of the thing.
was the actual adopted budget.
Oh, the
Actual
actual
adopted
okay, that's not
budget.
actual what we
Was
spent.
spent, no.
Is it?
No,
Oh,
it's
okay.
the actual budget that was done.
Okay.
And the next one is the
Okay.
proposed budget. It'd be
For
better if I,
2015.
yes.
Got it, okay.
And I can show you, I've done that before, where I didn't do that with this one, but I have them where I have the, amount spent, I will put, or to date. But that's deceiving. And you wanna know why that's deceiving? Because all your transfers out are in too. So you've got a transfer out in, showing it as an expense, right. And you have to remember that. And the fire station, the 8308 is in here.
So it's between the 2012,
Mm-hmm.
2013, it's up about $36,000.
Correct.
13 to 14, it's up about $130,000.
But you probably, in 2013, you probably only got, you probably had, say you got $250,000 in local government aid, but you only counted on 100 of it. So when 2014 came, you said, well, we need to spend this extra money, and instead of raising taxes, we're gonna count on all the local government aid, or the revenue at the bottom. So you counted on $250,000 for revenue, and the tax rate didn't change very much. We've always been focused on the tax rate, not as much on the spend, or what the expenses were. Does that make sense?
But it's still only going, it's still, the budget actually went up 1.9, and this year it's actually going up 82.
But you don't have the extra $82,000 in local government aid to offset what that would be the property tax
This
rate.
year either, because you're saying this is the actual, what was approved.
But it's not, you're not seeing the revenue side. Let me go get the revenue, so you can see the revenue. Take it out.
On the 2012 and the 2013, is that actual numbers, or is that proposed budget?
I think that's actual numbers.
So the first two are actual numbers.
Well, that's not what you, let me go get that for you.
The second two are proposed budget. Because she's saying that's the budget.
I get what you're saying, it's really hard to, right, yeah.
So these two are the actual money that we spent, and the other two are proposed budget.
You could say 2014 budget, and then 2015 proposed budget.
So they may not spend the 17. But, and I keep looking at fire department, they got 800 megahertz radio, which I call, new equipment. They're putting $5,000 in for uniform rental, with a new line, just to put $5,000.
I haven't, told her this, that's gonna be confusing. But this is the 2012, this is 2013. The property tax levy ends up being less than that, so it didn't change that much. Because we messed with the revenues up in here.
I get what you're saying,
Do you understand? That's, yeah, okay.
but we've been saying that we don't know how much. It went up $100,000.
I don't know what it was. Because you have more market value coming on, it's always about what you file.
I know, I mean, I'm not saying that we're done, I'm just saying, in perspective, it hasn't gone up as much as it has in the past.
It's been,
And now we still have to work with the revenue side. I understand that.
okay. I didn't know if I wasn't explaining. Right, but you've got an increase in property tax in market value too, so that may
So
offset.
we might have to raise the rate, but some people still pay tax.
No, you may,
People are still paying more.
you may lower the rate, but,
At least it's because their values went up.
right.
So you might not get quite as big a bite over it, because some taxes go up, but it's easier to pay taxes.
Yeah, but when the economy's not growing, you're not making more money, and food prices and everything else, contracts are going up, and the major rate, gasoline, I mean, property values going up, all, almost artificially inflated.
Are the city of mayor's taxes going up, or is it the bottom line that's going up? Because I don't think our taxes have increased. I think I'd have to look at the statement to be sure that that's a true statement I'm making, but I think it's, you know, I don't think the counties have either, but I just maybe the school districts have, I don't know. I don't know that ours have maybe increased a little bit, but I don't think, when people say that, you've got to look at the whole picture. Then,
Said that, I don't want to big spike.
Well, that's just because your home value goes up, if you're not selling, you're not gaining anything from that, except for the higher property value or that.
not necessarily, usually it's lower taxes when the value goes up. And I figured out how to explain that, and now I don't know if I remember how to explain it, but it's like if you need $100, you need $100 here, and you got 20 houses, you get, or 20 is your market, and it's 5 times 20, is that 100. But say you still need that 100 to get your $20, and it isn't worth 20 anymore, it's only 18. So now you have to increase the percentage that you hit those 18 or 20 homes for to get the same spend. I don't remember how I did, but it was really simplistic when I thought of it. I thought, I gotta remember that. Of course I didn't,
Long
but,
story short, we can lower the tax rate in theory, and keep our revenue equal of the value.
right.
The problem is if we need to increase our revenue, we still might need to keep or raise or raise how much our value is.
Correct. Yep.
So Eric, you mentioned sending money back to the owners. Yeah, back to that.
Will be the fire
Back
department.
to the fire department,
Park board.
park board, and the budget, if you're not spending your money, then something. Every little bit's probably now.
Also public works. Yeah, I think that's what I remember now. Versus up there.
Okay. The only thing is, the park board's not gonna meet till the 19th of August, so then we won't be able to finalize ours probably till the end of August or the beginning of September. So then, we'll just push it ahead a little bit more, but we have the affordability this year that the, levy certification has been moved from the 15th of September to the 30th of September. So we actually have 2 more weeks to be able to finalize our budget. So we have a little more time compared to last time. I just hope the county doesn't lag on getting us the market value, knowing that they've got those 2 weeks that they can play with too. That's my fear.
So what's the bottom line on that?
See, that's what I wanna know, city council, when do you want the expenditure side back? I mean, the 19th of August is when the park board's meeting, because of, there's a planning commission meeting on the 5th, and then it's, which I forgot about, elections being the 12th, so we can't hold a meeting. So the park board can't meet until the 19th, so that would mean it'd have to be the 25th, is it, Monday the 25th of August? Yep, would be the soonest I could bring back the expenditure side of the budget to look at it.
We just not to send to the chairperson of park board, and they have to go over and have them make some decisions as well.
Tell me what you want me to do. I don't know if the chairs are comfortable doing that. I mean, the EDA budget, really, that's $2,000. They haven't increased. And I,
Cut one, or if you're gonna ask for cuts for one, you should probably have some cuts for everybody.
They haven't raised it, so.
No,
we can send, and they have a meeting tomorrow night. And their meeting's tomorrow night, so I can ask them. We can ask them what they want to do.
Can you tell me why the city clerk deputy line went up?
Because I budgeted for that $15 times 16 hours times 52 weeks for a person to fill in for 2 days
So
of their
that's
vacation.
because of the extra.
Staff, by 12,480. Doesn't necessarily mean that we have to do it for the whole year. We could maybe cut this by 3/4 and then plan on hiring someone in March or April. I mean, January, February, March. Maybe we could just continue to get by the way we have, because it's usually slowing here in the winter anyway. Whatever. Sure. Correct. Right. So if you wanna do that, we can? Okay. Yep. But, so then we were gonna, so with that, then understanding that we'll come back with the expenditures then on August 25th. We were gonna meet the 4th, Monday the 4th, there's really no reason now to have a budget meeting on the 4th. We'll wait until the 25th and then do all of it then, the expenditures and the revenue, because I think we had one planned for the 18th too. Is there any reason to do one on the 18th? The 18th, if we get everybody else but the park board? If I have the stuff by the revenue side by the 18th, we could meet then. So is there any reason then to do one on the 4th, right? Okay. So if I have market values from the county by, in order to have a meeting on the 18th, then we'll do the revenues on the 18th, okay?
Do we have a resolution on, we talked about budgeting for the first rate increase, and they really talked about it, so this is not fire department.
Well, in this proposed public works budget, there is a $3 increase. There's a $3 increase in the salary line item for the public works.
Fire department is going to recommendation from the study on the whole increase in starting our first year and nine next year, and keep that in the back of our minds that one time we're going to be forced to increase that.
I agree, I think we certainly need to keep that in mind, but my viewpoint on that is that's the fire chief's job. He should know.
Right.
Bringing it, not for us to manage or recommend that, I mean, he needs to absolutely keep it at a time, I think.
In 2016, it was forced to increase it by one. And then on that subject, the city administrator and the city council. Well, we're talking about cutting budget here, I am throwing no conversation to increase it, but just wanna throw those topics out there.
We did last year, we added a step, wasn't it, increase, and then personnel committee met and made the recommendation on whether we were gonna get the increase or not, and then that was acted on in December. We budgeted for it, but the understanding wasn't that we could get it for sure.
All around, employees are more important than anything else in the city, and should we say, as we have to improve. Otherwise, that's what they're, there's no money there, but.
Really more stuff, all you gotta leave it in there if it's not used.
Well, you just make an adjustment on the final budget. It's for utility bill. It shouldn't be in here, it's supposed to be in, or move it to, it should be in water and sewer.
Their salary, which should be a good budget, they instead of compensation, 2%.
Right. Because it,
But we're really making a decision right now on review. I mean, we're making a decision right now saying, well, no raises. So, I don't know how we do that, but if we had 2% in there, whatever number, 2% in there, well, we may come to the decision, okay, there is that one, and then that money's budgeted for, but somehow then it should sit there for us to go into 2016 and be there for that, and not re-budget it into 2016, it's still there.
it gets rolled into the general fund, and that's how you end up with extra cash in the general fund. That's
So
what
at that
happens.
one time where you have something to budget for, and you don't use it, it rolls into something else, then it should always be there, we should always be able to pull it out of the general fund.
Instead of
Use it.
2-1.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Otherwise, we're making a decision right now, if we don't add an increase, we're making a decision we're not doing it. But that's not, I don't know fundamentally if that's right. Unfortunately, I think we should add a percentage, they're gonna take a look at it, see what it does. This is my thoughts on it, but be used. I don't think that at all.
Well, it's the same as you did with Public Works. He budgeted $3, whether he gets 3 or what he gets, but it's $3.
I think we should, I think we add a number and then we'll go from there. We can put that up.
You can go on line here, and I come on, and the option every 2 years, they used to look at those
If you do that, I don't know if it's too late. It has to be done by ordinance for one, and they don't take it, and it doesn't take effect till after the election. Right. And I'm not sure if there's a time period on that. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't think there is.
I couldn't get back to 26, but
There are some limitations on what you think of that.
I'd have to look, Mike. I'm not gonna say until I know for sure, but it's, you have to do it by ordinance, and then it takes effect after the next election.
I would rather see that go to staff.
Right. As they talked about it here, people are afraid to talk about it.
Exactly my same point that Ron having the staff have solutions to look at that, keeping a handle on that, not us, but it's something that has to be considered. I put in a little, say, for a certain percentage for, city staff right now.
Well, then just leave the 1,000 in there, and tell me it's not, it's about the one quarter that you need to have
I don't think it would be that much tight. Because even at 2% would be, well, it might be, because by the time you add Terra and FICA onto it, you might be there, you might be right, yep. What am I figuring out?
Well, no, you're absolutely right, though. Yeah. You're playing for that. It's something that we need to have, because if we decide to cut it, we decide to cut it, but
Correct.
we need to cut it. And then, we cut that off. Anything else on this? We'll send it back, and then we'll get some of the other groups that cut them. If they're in agreement, that city truck for sure will come out, and the mower is kind of back and forth on the mower, and people can take the mower out of 435.
We will, you know what, we will get the purchase that before you, in front of you for the estimates, and when you make the decision on where you wanna buy it, you can have that discussion further if you want, where it's gonna come from. And we'll also get a hold of our auditor to get that audit adjustment made so that funds correctly reflect the right amount, because it's not correctly reflecting it at this time. So we just have to do that. Yes. In the spring.
Yeah, otherwise buy the mower now, and then it's just sitting. That's kind of what Bruce is.
Or we buy the mower now because we can get a good discount on it,
Yeah, absolutely.
because we could get a 2014 model. If we get, we'll leave it up to our,
Get the 2014 or the 2015 too.
we'll leave it up to Public Works Extraordinaire to come up with that, because it's not 2003 truck. This was an item that Councilmember Osborne had brought up about ordinance enforcement, and I guess I would just like to have some further clarification on what he was talking about. And with that, I came up with a form that I thought that we could use as an address of ordinance violation, the description of the violation, and then the signature of the person reporting it, and then the date that law enforcement's notified. So we have a paper trail of when we know what the issue is, and if it was dealt with or not.
I guess I'm looking for more out of the people for the quality of life. I don't wanna be the one greasing the streets up and down the street. There's, vehicles that sat on the road for over a year with expired tags. And we got law enforcement, we have public works, we have the community service workers in town. Someone should have seen that and brought something back to the city hall, so whether it could have been sent or it could have been dealt with. You sit and you see sidewalks and trails that aren't cleaned all winter long. It's not up to the council members to drive around town and make sure it works.
I wasn't saying it should be up to council members, I'm just saying that if people have issues, then let's do this form so that we know stuff's getting addressed. So if we get a phone call on an ordinance violation, what's the address, what's the violation, so we know, so we can follow up and say we took care of that. I'm just trying to create a trail, a paper trail.
And that kind of leads back to if there's a complaint, we deal with it, or not.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah,
that's,
and
I think that's where the conversation starts.
I think we need to be a little more proactive when we're trying to clean up the town and make it, hazardous for the people.
I think that's just as much on us as it is sheriff's office, but we'll not speak to the sheriff's office, obviously. You can, at times, there's no way to speak on the thing, but I think if we were to, if the council were to, explain, or talk to the sheriff's office and say, these are the things that we continue to work on in 2015, and say it's whatever, junk car, water, whatever, I believe that the sheriff's office would be able to do that. I think it's just a matter of us driving them a little bit instead of them driving.
Nobody's driving me.
Whereas right now, I think there's a lack of feedback, maybe from push from us to them to know what exactly we do. And when I was in Victoria, the big thing was water, and being the town got in Victoria, that's where the city wanted to go, and that's what I did.
Well, the city directed you.
And I think my feeling was the sheriff's office was supportive of that, because they understand that was something that was one of our concerns. So it's probably a matter of figuring out what our priorities are, and letting the know what they are, and, Jake, let's say their priorities want to be home.
I agree with that, that we kind of pick the hot thing. I don't think we can go around and enforce every ordinance, because then we're really gonna get caught up in, we get someone heat for an ordinance, they're gonna be now, well, you didn't give it to them, you didn't give it to them, you didn't, become a big legal issue also. Why didn't you enforce it across the board with everyone? With this one person, now we're, we have some legal issues on it, You made me move my boat, or you made me move my car, not them, and why are you discriminating against me? I just think you take action if you want it, but I agree, I think there's certain hot things that bother me that I've seen of showing sidewalks is a big one. It irritates me when I see this poor woman walking down my street every morning when she walks everywhere. She can't walk on the sidewalk. Trying to do it on the street. She can walk for 2 houses and have to come out because of some people. So I think
So do we do that when we start talking about the contract, and just, everybody kind of figure out what those issues are, and the contract time, direct out to sheriff's office, I think say this is the things that we feel we should work on.
Yeah, keep your eyes out for these budget things.
Some of that might be more temporary.
Right.
My small town policeman days, I would come in and there'd be like a note on the desk, we drive around town looking for grass being violated, say, that's a complaint, I drive around and look for grass, and see, they get out and knock on the door, and we get a copy of the ordinance, let them know, and
I did a lot of
people would be like, I had no idea I couldn't do that. I'm like, well, you can't. A lot of it's just education, but somewhat complaint driven. Initially complaint driven, but then it also has to be an initiative on the town cops that
We should be able to track our complaints and know where our trends are and know what people are complaining about. That kind of comes back to the form, you have to leave something to however you wanna track it. If
Right.
it's a form, then it's a form, but if it's some other spreadsheet that you track,
Right.
ordinance complaint,
Well, Jake has actually started a 3-ring binder, that he's putting information like this with the letters that are going out to residents, so CSOs can come and open it up and look. And actually, to give, a month ago or so, Lois did speak to the CSO about talking to people about grass clippings in the street. I believe they had a handout that they were gonna put in people's doors. Probably a month or so ago, we talked, they were in here, we were introduced to a new CSO. We told them about watering violations. We gave them the tickets, we gave them the information that they have to put indoors. So I think that we're reacting to those kinds of ordinance violations as we realize that they're gonna happen. The snow removal one, that was kind of a hard one because we weren't even plowing our own trail through the park and had that complaint from that homeowner about how come I had to shovel mine, but you didn't shovel yours. So I think sometimes we have to be careful about where we go with some of those ordinance things too, that we're making sure that we're in compliance and setting the example. Right.
all, I think there is a lot more behind the scenes that we know that's happening, that we don't even know. I mean,
Correct.
Southern Cape has it,
Correct.
handle on it, I think, but, and anytime I've gotten an email from anyone, I call it, okay, can you take care of it? And they take care of it.
So are you going towards, is there a certain set of things that should be, does it not have that to address, I mean, this CSO or not?
Yeah, we're in the hot, I think you're hearing from people, or I think that you want to.
Well, number one, I feel, when I drive home, there's a couple neighbors that blow it out in the street continuously every week. And I don't see that being taken care of.
So why don't you email the address to me and I'll take care of it?
Okay?
You just let me know. So I tell people, they call with a complaint and I say, I count on you being the eyes and the ears of the community because I can't be every place. And if citizens want to report something, they are kept in confidence, but that helps us be able to do our job because, again, Kyle can't be every place, I can't be, Lois can't, we all can't be there, but if you see something and let us know, we're more than happy to take care of it. So if you'd want to do that, we can take care of it.
I can do it, I just ran into it. And I don't think it's at all. I just ran into him and he said, he only takes care of the criminal in the private side of it. That wasn't his job. And I kind of do a recollection on it. If we ask, and I wasn't necessarily directing him to, other than I was asking him, see if they bring stuff like that back to the office to follow up with. And I don't know if he had a bad day, he did not.
Is that for, should be able to contact the CSO
Well,
to look into something?
Again, is this process, I manage the contracts that we contract services for. I manage the contract with Waste Management, I manage the police services contract, it's part of my job. So if that's kind of an issue that's happening, that there's something that needs to be taken care of, shouldn't that come to me so that I can find out who is responsible and then hold the sheriff's department responsible so when the contract comes up for renewal, I can come back to you and say, I contacted them about this and it didn't get taken care of, or this is an issue. But again, in order to
have the discussion
with
the contractor and say, no, this is your responsibility.
Right.
This is what we need.
Right. Just the same as if it were an employee. Because even though it's not an employee that I'm directing, it's that contract that I'm managing that are people again. So shouldn't that come back to me then, or those things come back to me so that they can be taken care of?
And then you're asking direction to, come up with whatever our priorities are.
Right.
I mean, I think.
Yeah, when you do the contract.
And I mean, if you guys are driving around, you see something, if you can do that, grass in the streets is a priority, then hopefully you would say, hey, I noticed that somebody's doing that grass in there, but, and follow up on that.
Their contract is going to ask for better, or I don't know how
Well, maybe it's communication between the CSO and myself. It's just one of the things that I used one time with the city council, which I thought was really helpful, was think of this as an hourglass. So the top of the hourglass is all the issues we have in a city, okay? The middle is the administrator. So it all comes to me, and then I delegate it back out. So if it's ordinance grass violations, up here's an issue, it comes to me, I know where it goes. It goes to the sheriff's department, it goes to the CSO, or it goes to the public works, or whoever it goes to. But I think, again, that communication back through, to make, if you want the organization to really work, I think you have to use the organization. Right. I think it was a great example, because it makes sense.
Well, I agree, I don't think it's a contract issue.
No,
Telling them
no,
to do
it's not.
something, and they're not doing it, it's a contract. I mean, I think communication, or just letting them know, hey, watch out for these things.
And maybe it just becomes that you want to talk to them more about more ordinance enforcement of the city, and that you're going to hear from the administrator. You make it a broader statement, maybe, Eric? I don't know. You don't have to get into the specifics, and if they say, well, which one, well, the administrator will be in touch with you on what those specific ordinance issues are we want you to address, but we would like to see more ordinance enforcement.
If we're talking about adding on to really have some kind of enforcement or not enforcement.
No, we don't definitely.
Not even a need for that.
Well, but let's utilize what we have, and I think what you're saying is we aren't utilizing what we
No,
have.
I think they're willing to do that, it's just a matter of we're not giving that direction.
Right.
So if junk vehicles are, blight is an issue, then you just say, blight's an issue for us. You notice that there's a car in the driveway that has fire tab, and it's ordinance for a junk vehicle, you deal with it. If you don't need it, you don't have to worry about a complaint about it, if you see it. Same thing with watering violations. This is what we want, the first month in the summer, we want warning. The second month, you see it, you write a ticket, then it needs to go in direction, so they know where we're at and what we want to do. I'm positive they'll do that.
Right.
And then I think that'll be from Jake to the CSO.
Correct.
So, to the area car. I really believe that would be the case. We just need to let them know what we need.
Yep.
So Glenn, do you manage the CSO, or is that Jake's responsibility that he does that as, how does that work?
That's Jake's responsibility. That's part of being the town cop, is that he delegates to him.
He kind of delegates up to the CSO, so he'll communicate down with the CSO where needed.
Well, it doesn't mean I can't call them, I can, but that's sort of the town cop's responsibility. Yes. They take the town cop model to have a little bit of management experience, so that they can see how they manage people.
Some of the things, if you were asking me what I thought should be addressed, it would be the blight issues. And I think, we do hear about complaints about people walking dogs off leash, and sometimes it's really, do some action on those dogs. And then, if we really are concerned about the water and water conservation, then, we take a stand on the water dam. And if you let the sheriff's office know that, they're gonna do it. That's what it's doing. So, water usage is revenue for us to do. No, well, there you go.
But there's rules they have to follow.
Right, so.
And water is not a finite resource. Wait until we do water and sewer budgets, because I have some articles that I'm gonna give you guys about watering.
So if you see that, grass in the street is important.
Well, I think it goes back to managing the stormwater pond. They just wash over the corners and do this thing, stormwater pond. And how painful that was,
I mean, I
I don't
think
wanna have to experience that every time.
you take that, you work with them as to, what you feel is appropriate for the citation ratio, education and enforcement. We just go from there and then, feel like, hey, a lot of it.
People understand why.
Side note to that, the DC sheriff's department goes off and we work with the as I said, the hitting contract was on 1 to 5 year, but I think some more evening work, because that's when we need people at home, they can miss it when one come on, the evening, so by the next morning, the grass goes to the public honor, and so then goes to town, and I never see a flag. Some of the area knows.
I believe next week is gonna be, I believe.
My opinion is, why, I'm not, I know it's not that kind of topic, but I would love to see the rule of it somehow get, not all evening, but more evening work.
I think the sheriff's office is going to be as responsible. I
was something that Councilmember Osborne also brought up, that wanted to discuss the public works facility at a work session. So that's why it's on the agenda.
Well, it goes back to the future of the park, how to develop the park, and preparing for the future of the public works. Budgeting for it, and we budget for it, we, think of like three places for options as far as location. Again, when we talked about it, and in the heat of the moment, when we were talking parks, it was brought up, and kind of dropped. In fact, it was brought up, so we did it. I don't want to say it dropped, because it wasn't. We become prepared for the next phase at that time. So, as we were doing budgets and looking at facilities, I just think it's important that we continue looking at future of public works, especially when we're requesting money to make it safer around us. You know, we start putting a lot of money in there, knowing that someday you're gonna take that money back. Move it, not necessarily use it. So, just wanna make sure that, you know, everybody's thinking about that.
Have a long, I mean, we have a 2013 comprehensive plan, we have plans on what things will maybe come in fall, but, you know, kind of talk on that. So it's sitting down at the old park and then, so it's really clean, so it's been, whatever, so we. I don't know, I'll see what they do, what needs to be done, what's driving it. Well, the drive to move, the repopulation driven and more equipment, you know, once we get on the snowplow, I mean, what forces that move? And we got, I don't even know what that is. Yeah, right, oh, yeah, well, I don't mean,
those that get moved already, but can't do the drivers, money to do it. Money there,
Equipment is a big one. Like, you can't buy a buck of, more equipment, you kind of go hand in hand.
I think it's important that not only do we buy nice equipment, we take care of it, and you need the facility to take care of it, you can't wash it in the facility. You can't, can you get the Bobcat and,
I can.
in?
It's tight, but I can.
You know, so when that equipment's all running all night and completely covered, day or night, you almost need to get it in where it's not down. So you don't hurt it when you go back out in the night. So, as we get more equipment, we need to be able to get it in so we can take care of it.
Or as far as equipment maintenance?
Well,
Building.
what I was saying, we can't get two pieces of equipment in right now and things can't thaw out or melt down like they should, or that's what I'd consider immediate.
Yeah, I can get the skid loader and the plow truck in there. I mean, it is tight, you know, I have them crammed against the walls, but yeah, I mean, I can't get any more than that in there, for sure.
Is there any case in point you want to give it in the township, please, that would be more of a, you're going to do a facility in the next 3 years?
Carver County's looking at a feasibility study for doing one in this kind of corner of the county, but I don't know where that's at.
I think we talked about it one time, you know, that it's really nice to have the mowers in town rather than how they're used in town.
I know, I've heard rumors about like the compost site. I mean, it's a great site, plenty of space, but yeah, like, you need more, like a field stone, and then we need probably more equipment for like another pickup for trailer in it, and that kind of thing. Whereas Simcor, I mean, industrial lot, that'd be a prime location, I know. We got a lot, I mean, I don't know, there's many different factors that could do this.
Well, I guess that's what brought it up, in the back of my mind, we're looking at the site, fire station, and fire department. We're looking at the public works facility, out at the wastewater plant. Another good location is underneath the water tower, because we really don't want to do anything that one, trying to see, a lot of times public works are right under the line, house their equipment there, and then we're looking at the budget, and I don't know if it's had a 2016 number on the public works facility.
Yeah, 2018 is what it said.
I started putting numbers, we gotta buy something, we need to be looking, is that later? Because not only do you buy the land, you got the building. That was just a thought on that.
I think bringing this process out from the finance committee to the council is really good. I think it's really good that we need to look at that clearly with our commitment and understand where money's going and why it's going. We're like in this spot of being small, or too small to be a little bigger, but not there quite yet. Buying whatever that piece of equipment is, plow truck or whatever, to figure out what that cost of yearly use is, and then add into their, Ricky for 10 years, figure that in there, that payment. We're definitely on track, moving us out of that finance. I think this is going on, I think it's opening up a lot of eyes.
I think it's important that everybody's thinking about it, from year to year, on the budget. Really good thing, public works facility. When we get back in the phone about that, where's the next employee, it's all a puzzle, how that works. No?
This was, Councilmember Boder had requested, I don't know if you wanna move the noise ordinance to another meeting, when there isn't quite so much on the agenda, or if you wanna discuss it tonight, or what you wanna do.
Where were we going? I think we were just going towards the,
Well, we were looking at maybe excluding the industrial park from it?
yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, that's what I want.
And I'm not sure if this needs to go to the planning commission first, I don't think it does, I don't know. I've gotta look. Or I will talk to Hubert and see what he thinks, it ought to go there for the public hearing first, I think it probably should have a public hearing, and planning commission holds your public hearings, but I don't know if it's part of the zoning code, I can't remember, or the regular city. Thoughts are, okay? I could do that for next week.
They're running out of country, horses, through the industrial parks, and they're getting to the industrial parks, and the residents don't like to work around it, so they don't have time. I see more people commuting farther and farther, township than somewhere else in the, they extended their hours, 24 hours a day for break.
Even if you wanted to push this out to the past,
We'll do it maybe later, like November or something, when we've got a smaller agenda for a work session, and we can really review it closer. Okay. Yep, I can do that. We'll put it on our work session then. Like November. Okay. Great, thank you.
Real quick, I wanna get people looking, I talked to Luann a little bit about it. Is it beneficial, does anyone see any benefit to getting some sort of a wrap-up, a fairly detailed wrap-up report from events, city events after they're done? Be it Mayor Moxie, be it city celebration, I talked on it, and talked some of the, here's what we, I'm looking at things, budget-wise, here's what it was, here's how many people attended, it was, attended, better or worse than we thought it might be, here's what we're gonna look at for next year, here's what worked, here's what didn't work. Any benefit to me of that? After the Mayor 5K, the city celebration, after the car show, kind of give an update, here's this many cars this day, this many this time, it trended up, it was a success, a lot of people, it wasn't that good. Does anyone see any benefit to that, a fairly detailed, and maybe the commissioner or the group leader of it come and report out to it? Something I was thinking about.
I see a benefit, but the problem I see is there are enough times to get people to do stuff like that, and we have to people to do more problems, they do some benefit.
Well, I don't mean city staff putting it together, I mean the committee or that group at the time, because I think these groups should be meeting anyways and discussing lessons learned,
when they are.
what can we improve on.
Well, they do that, I know
Right.
Park Board does that.
Yeah, and I'm certain most do, and I noodle it, I don't need, I was just thinking about it.
Rerun the program, and he thought it was just. Moxie was run by the Park Board, correct? But Mayor Rising Community Festival stands alone, and really the city doesn't have a parade. So I don't see that really why should they go through all that work just for our entertainment.
Well, or just a written report, they could do a written report that could be.
Some of the challenges might be they're just not getting community involvement, they're not getting any support to get it, and those are challenges, there's something we can do then to help
Are you
with them.
referring to the Rising Community Festival as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I
We
want,
have a council liaison to the Rising Community Festival, and I don't know. I look at it as more call for council to scrutinize and.
I'm not looking at it as strict, I think it's more being good communication of what's going on and where we can come with it. And honestly, it's not coming from any other reason outside of work. We do that when we wrap up our projects. We sit down and wrap up our projects and do lessons learned, what we could discuss, why were we delayed, why were we not, and we present it out. That's the only reason I thought about it. And we do that, because I did when it worked.
As an after-action plan where we learn what we know,
So maybe not, maybe the report outs are enough, I think about it, I don't need any answers now, I don't need.
When you do that, you report it to anybody or?
Yeah, we do. No, absolutely.
I mean, I know Park Board does that for all of their stuff, and.
What were your challenges, and you didn't need a budget, you didn't need a timeline because you didn't have the resource, okay, well, we'll make sure next one will give you a resource, But just noodle it, no big deal on it. I think about these things, I'm gonna work it out tomorrow, I'm gonna I think it's called daily. No, I don't like to work. Oh, wait a minute, I don't like to work.